Hello and welcome to the Not Too Shabby Shop YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted here on YouTube, and today I'll be crafting with the July subscription box of the month. It's called Summertime Coffee. And more specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the two 6x6 paper pads that we get and the coordinating ephemera packs that come with them. I've already, ahead of time, sort of picked out some different pattern papers to work with, as well as some different pieces of ephemera to collage. And pretty much most of the 4 cards that I'll be creating have that sort of collage aspect. And mostly that's because I wanted to sort of challenge myself a little bit. Normally, as I was doing the unboxing, I did notice that the ephemera packs this time don't include examples of sort of a collaged grouping of images, and I took that sort of as a challenge to still collage with these pieces, but for me, it's a challenge because I often use the ephemeras that are already collaged as a springboard for ideas, as a starting point. And so it was a little bit challenging, but a lot of fun to just spread all of the pieces of ephemera out and just start picking individual elements that I thought would work well together. So some of these cards came together really quickly, some I struggled with, and this one in particular, I think once I saw these few elements, I had an immediate idea for how I wanted to collage them together. On some of my later cards, I had an idea, it didn't quite pan out the way that I saw it in my head, and so even though I had already, before starting to film, selected some items and even for all of the cards did a bit of a dry run, still, as I was putting it together, it didn't look right, and I still changed things up a little bit. So I think part of the creative process with collaging is to just try different things and have a bit of a play. And I think this card and actually another one in a little bit later in this video were the ones that I think I struggled with the most. One of the fun things that is also a little bit different for me with the paper pad, and that's another reason why I really wanted to kind of work on this set of cards first. This is really the second sort of crafting session that I've had with the box of the month. And here's where I had an idea, but it still wasn't sitting well with me, so I poured out all of the ephemera pieces just to see what else I have to work with. And this is sort of how I prepped the pieces for my cards. I actually, it looks a lot like this, where I just have everything spread out in front of me, and whatever I can decide on, I sort of have that kind of more or less locked in place first, and then I start to work around that and start to try to make some decisions afterwards. And one of the other things that was a little bit of a challenge for me was that so many of the pattern papers in this set, they're really striking, very vibrant, and even though you can always flip to the backside, and usually that's something that's a little bit more toned down, maybe a little bit more monochromatic, but it may be a little bit easier to use. But I really challenged myself to use those really striking papers and find ways to get comfortable with how to work with them, because I always enjoy a good challenge. And so one of the things that I found useful was just surrounding some of the more bold prints with solid color cardstock. So here you can see I finally settled on a collage that I like, and it was very different. It has none of the original elements that I picked out for this card. And so it's even if you're going into a card with a particular vision for it, what's really fun about having so many different ephemera pieces is that you can always sort of change things up midstream, and I find it helpful to just be open to that process and just have a play. It's so easy to just mix and match pieces and move them around. And so here I decided to cut off a part of that piece of ephemera, and it still has a coffee, a nice coffee drink. That's the part that I cut off. And so I'm saving that. I'm not going to throw that away so that I can still use that on a separate card. And the foam that I'm using, it's for this piece here, it's my low profile foam, but that center piece is a little bit thicker. That's why I'm able to still tuck that behind there, even though it does have some foam behind there. So I do use a lot of different foams of different thicknesses, and it helps you to kind of achieve different layers and different looks. And so I thought this one corner looked a little bit empty, so I decided to kind of fill that. Originally, I think I had a piece of ephemera there, but it didn't feel balanced, so I decided against it, but I still wanted a little something, so that's where Nuvo drops are fantastic. This card is my simplest card. I think simple doesn't mean that it's not effective. I think it's still really, really nice, but it's sometimes one of the big benefits of coordinating papers and ephemera is that, especially ephemera that does come with sentiments, like this one, and along with the sentiment, this even has a graphic or an image to go with it. So that just makes for really quick crafting when you need a card in a pinch and you don't have the time to maybe color something up or to stamp or die cut. So that's another really fantastic aspect of these subscription boxes, because it's great for all levels of crafters. And if you're just getting started and you don't yet have a die cutting machine, you don't yet have a stamping platform or a lot of inks, you can always start with crafting with just the papers and the ephemera, and then as your sort of craft supplies and equipment expands and grows, then you'll already have some other elements to start working with, like the stamp sets and the stencil that come in this month's box. With this card, again, I'm really challenging myself to use a lot of the pattern papers, and this is actually a card sketch that I'm using, and so I'm loosely following the card sketch. It's actually, I think I've mirrored it, and so with card sketches, they're really fantastic, again, as a sort of springboard for ideas, but you can always change them up to suit your graphic, what you're working with. And so you don't always have to follow a card sketch to the T, even if there are measurements and things. So this one, though, I thought was really cute because the sketch does include having these banner elements, and it suggests in the card sketch that there's stitching to actually kind of sew those banners to this rectangle piece here. But rather than actually sew with like real thread, I just decided to draw faux stitching lines, and I think that just gives you the same impression, but is a lot easier because then I don't have to take this to my sewing machine. And I think that sort of faux stitch outline is a fun little easy way to add a little detail that takes just a regular straight cut shape, because you could do it for any shape, and add a bit of character, a little bit of something special there. And again, this is another one that I was working from the sketch, but the collaging took some time, and you'll see me kind of wipe the board a little bit occasionally, like I did just then. But when there are things that I know sort of more definitively that I want in a particular location, like that central coffee cup, I knew I wanted that in the foreground, so at the front most of everything else of the collage. And so I went ahead and stuck a slightly thicker piece of foam to the back of that, so it's maybe 2 to 3 millimeters thick. And I made sure to only put a little block of foam in the center. That way I can still tuck elements behind it. And because it's a thicker foam, I can still raise other elements using my low profile foam and still be able to fit it behind the coffee cup. So you will see me do a little bit of that. But yeah, as I get a little bit more confident, I'll start to glue down the pieces that once I find a good position for them, I go ahead and commit to it. The little spray that has sort of the blue sort of little balls at the end, that's one die cut that I've just trimmed, because I knew a lot of it would get covered by the two flowers. And so rather than have that go to waste, the portions that get covered by the flowers, I just snipped it so that I can actually have additional little sprigs that are extended out of that little spray or cluster that I created. So that's one way to sort of stretch your die cuts a little bit, is to, if you know that they're going to get covered, you can always snip into them a little bit and then use, all of the pieces in multiple ways. And so that's and plus, if you were to use another spray, because it's the exact same shape, it would look a little bit different if you've snipped into them differently too. So then it doesn't all look so matchy-matchy. So here's a final look at the 4 cards that I created today. I had a lot of fun, and I think that it was a good challenge for me. I think I learned a lot, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit more and more comfortable working with bright colors, striking, graphical images. And I've always been not so great at collaging. And so I think just having this bit of practice has helped tremendously. So if you are anything like me and you've struggled with collaging, just have a play at it, and you'll definitely find yourself getting better at it. Thanks so much for joining me today, and if you like this video, here are a couple more that you may enjoy as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Not Too Shabby Shop YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.